What's up, guys, and welcome to the Rules of Subconscious. In this course, we not just gonna describe the rules, but we will dive into the problems that we face every day: anxiety, social anxiety, when you're super worried, when you overthink the problems, when you struggle all kind emotionally, addictions, fears, family problems, anger, financial blocks. This is a foundation of pretty much everything that comes to your problems and in life in general. If you're gonna be at the top 3 people who actually know how the subconscious works. Let's go. Every thought or idea creates a physical reaction. Simple example: when we were having a running competition, I was really worried. And when you're worried, you feel what? Changes in your well-being, especially in stomach. Or the same thing when it comes to fear and anxiety, your heart rate is going all the way up. So emotions are tangible, they cause physical changes, which is kind of obvious. So, in terms of panic attacks, the real problem is that we, in terms of body, react too intense. We react really weird to these situations that are not supposed to be reacted this way. So we need to change. We need to break this pattern, change it, and we can do this through the hypnotherapy, or how they also say it, autosuggestion. Autosuggestion basically is a form of self-hypnosis. Rule number 2. What you expect tends to happen. For example, what you feared most has come upon you. Simple example with this one: wasps. I was really afraid of wasps, and I was really having dreams sometimes that they are stinging me, that I've got problems with a wasp and hornet's nest. Well, eventually it happened. All those expectations, they came true. Yeah, they stung me right into my wrist. That was kind of painful. Absolutely the same thing happens in the social anxiety. So you see, someone expects that they're gonna fail when they're gonna present themselves, when they're gonna speak to someone, and they imagine this way, and it's happening. Because for us, it doesn't matter if the image was self-created or externally imposed. So you see, we provide the framework for subconscious, and it naturally tries to follow it to match the situation. So see, when we worry, it's just the process of mentally creating those images that we actually don't want, but we still create them because our irrational feelings. And the opposite thing: if we have positive expectations, what's gonna happen? Well, eventually we're gonna reach. Even if we're gonna fail, we say to ourselves, we will make it. We can do it. And that's what happens. So luck is often described as the positive mental expectation. A thing you gotta understand: your chronic anxiety, it's happening here in your mind. It's not something that is universal. It's just your personal problem, the one you faced based on your own experience. And it's resolved through changing the pattern, changing your vision and your reactions. In other words, we become what we think. Actually, they did a lot of observations when it came to placebo effect. Kind of same idea, but here we can control ourselves. We can direct this way of healing because we believe in ourselves. We add those emotions. We're not just trying to rely on our conscious and logical and rational way of thinking. No, we add those positive expectations when we can feel them, when we believe in ourselves. It looks like a simple and dumb thing, but that's the beauty of it. It's working. Just like little kids, they seem stupid for us, but if we're gonna notice, they can imagine things, they can change their mood. Give them a candy, they're gonna be happy. It is available for you as well. The power that you lost as a kid, you can return them back. Number 3, imagination is more powerful than knowledge when communicating with your own mind or the minds of others. In other words, imagination easily overrides logic. Simple example is politics. Guys, thinking about, I describe a politics that you can use the facts to build your own cause and effect relationships, and you can justify horrible things like Adolf Hitler did. Back in Germany, those people simply allowed to their imagination, their environment around them, that we lost the war, we hate the Jews, to follow that leader blindly. The same thing when it comes to impulsive purchases, and when it comes to negative things, to see crimes, scams, all coming because our feelings, they are much stronger than our rational thinking. That's why a lot of people, their main goal is to bring you to the emotions, because they can control you when you are something emotional about. Religious is a great example as well. As you remember, a lot of Christians are joining my stream and they telling me that this is the only way, there are no other stuff, everything else is from Satan. Political belief that is associated, religious belief that is associated with the feeling blinds our ability to think rationally, to accept other points of view. So we cannot change it through using the logic. Oftentimes we don't really need to change those beliefs, but when it comes to negative self-beliefs, huge feeling of guilt, we use hypnosis and hypnotherapy to create those new subconscious images. Number 4, once an idea is accepted by the subconscious mind, it remains there until it is replaced by another idea. In other words, the longer idea has existed, the harder it is to change. That's what you're noticing in older people. It's really difficult for them to change because their experience speaking louder than their logic all the time. Just remember an example. There was a guy who went through hypnotherapy and he hasn't been smoking for 20 years. So he started when he was 20, didn't smoke for 20 years, and then suddenly he started smoke again. When he was asked what was the reason, divorce. So see, that new feeling, new pattern replaced that another one, the positive one that was achieved. And now people is back into the same case. If the idea is more powerful, then it's going to replace the initial one or the one that we created originally. So if our goal is to change the behavior, we must find and change the ideas first. So you see there's a nice framework which we will definitely explore more. Results, actions, thoughts, and feeling. When we have no results, for example financial results, it means we're doing something wrong. Why we're doing something wrong? 2 reasons. We either don't really know what we're supposed to do, or we actually know what we should do. For example, take care of ourselves, make better financial decisions, should save and invest. Then the core is going to be in thoughts and feelings. Other beliefs are accepted as the unquestionable truth, for example, gravity, Newton laws, sunrise and the sunset. This is something that we just understand by observing, by understanding because we're not that dumb. But it's not always the case. Because we believe sometimes that after the breakup, the right way would be to consume alcohol. Because we've seen the movies, we don't know any other way. This is the negative belief. This is belief that is formed under wrong impression. And it persists not because we don't understand that it's harmful, but because it's much more intense. We don't have the same experience with the same feeling intensity. If something's negative is more intense, it's gonna outperform the logic as we described before. In this case, it's deep subconscious belief, not just like random passing thoughts. And you see, just as I mentioned to you, regardless of how long an idea has existed or how strongly we believe in it, it still can be changed. It still can be changed. We just gotta know the instruments, know the tools. Let's go for the number 5. Each successive suggestion encounters less resistance than the previous one. In other words, once a habit is formed, it's easier to follow and harder to change. Simple example like cycling. For the first time, it just feels impossible. Or when you go to gym, there's going to be time when it's so difficult to go, but eventually it gets easier. You just follow the pattern, you just getting a habit. So yeah, once our idea is accepted with the subconscious, additional things, additional suggestions are much easier to add. Gonna give you a simple example with sports. If I were doing sports as a kid, for example, tennis. Well, I personally play tennis. For me, it's much easier to do the volleyball compared to an untrained person, or dance, or jiu-jitsu, because I still got the motion first, and also I'm more, I would say, physically advanced, physically flexible. Same thing with emotions. Once we resolve your first emotion, it's going to be the scariest experience. Then when we're going to work with next feelings, when we're going to resolve your next challenges, like feelings of remorse, anger, when you're jealous, it will go much smoother because you will know the way it's working. Same thing financially. When we're rising, the hardest part is to reach those $10,000 a month, and then it will go much easier. You will be able to scale much easier. Rule number 6. A symptom caused by emotion will eventually produce an organic change if it persists long enough. Or in other words, it's the study of psychosomatics. So a lot of physicians, they saying, I actually don't know if they find that idea of 70%, but there is a simple story about that thing I'm gonna share with you. So the thing is, our emotions, our stuck negative emotions, we're not releasing them they gotta go somewhere, and they remain in our body, and they basically choose our body part and attack it. They attack our body organs. Gonna share my own example. Traumatic experience that caused suppressed anger. Anger creates pressure. And in my case, I always had those chronic tonsil stones. I had no idea why. Like, for what? Why do I need them? And they disappeared when I started first to take care of myself. Second, when this anger was released. Guys, this is kind of weird, but I was sick in those 4 years, just 11 days. I remember I've got like some stones in my larvae. And once I got sick because there was a really cold weather and I didn't wear my socks, my wool socks during that cold night. I got a little bit sick as well. So pretty much most of your diseases and your problems with the health are coming from physical part that you don't care, that you don't have the working schedule, and your emotional background. Of course, this doesn't mean that every sick person is mentally ill, mentally crazy. No, it can happen naturally, as I mentioned before. Your immune system can go down, especially it's called like by viruses, bacteria. But our mind and body are so closely connected, we cannot separate them. Our feelings, they not just abstract, they take a physical form and destroy your organism piece by piece, step by step, all the time. Our body is timely limited. We grow and we eventually die. But feelings, they don't care about the time, they will remain. If a person constantly fears illness, repeatedly talks about their stomach problems or headaches, organic changes may eventually occur all the time. You know, there are people who super worry about their health. Sometimes they think, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. I'm sick a little bit. I gotta make a checkup. Those kind of people, they basically attract those problems. Remember, that was a rule. Positive expectations, negative expectations, suppress conflict. This work as a combination, and it's ruining our life. And rule number 7. When working with the subconscious mind, the stronger the conscious effort, the weaker the subconscious response. It's mostly for the logical people. Specific rule for them. Because willpower is largely an illusion. Actually, it's not exactly an illusion. Willpower is an instrument for the short-term things. When we gotta wake up, cook the dinner, when we just like, okay, gotta make it. But when it comes to the long-term habits development, it ain't working this way. So yeah, people with insomnia, you know this well. The more you're trying to fall asleep when you see time to go to bed, the more awake you become. Same thing when it comes to try not to think about pink elephant. You will think about it. Yeah, idea is keep it simple. When it works with a feeling, we basically turn into kids who just playing games instead of trying to always analyze what's going on. We gotta turn off that rational thinking, that conscious thinking, analytical thinking. Otherwise, we won't be able to access the feeling. That's the nature of the feeling. They are irrational. So see, positive expectation that your problems can be resolved. If you trust your feelings, if you trust your intuition, you will be able to operate it. You don't have to force something to happen. It will happen just naturally because you're in a relaxed state. You don't have that inner conflict. And small slide from one of my other presentations that psychology is not exactly science. So I'm going to explain a little bit in details. So it's not traditional science compared like math. It's not that precise. In mathematics, we have straight cause and effect relationships. 2 plus 2 is equals 4. If you disagree, then you're an idiot. And the transitivity, if A larger than B or greater than B and B greater than C, then A greater than C, you will get the same results. It's like they're speaking the same language. But in psychology, and most of our research is based on sample studies, experiments, when we were observing people. And you know, they often say in research, 90% of people showed improvement, 80% of people showed improvement. And that's where we face the real problem. There is no 100% cases in psychology. There are, but most of them unique life situations and life experience. That's what they're based on. Crazy cause and effect relationships. That is why we should break you down as a person. The same thing, I would say the similar thing we have is our feelings. That's the language, that's the thing that we can agree on. But when it comes to perceiving things, intensity of emotions, our experience, it's always going to be unique. No matter how deep we analyze each other, we are unlimited in this case. Even if we're limited, but we can't calculate it, just like the chess moves. I mean, maybe we can. I'm not sure, but there's so many chess combinations that a chance that you're gonna meet absolutely the same person is basically going to zero. That's it, guys. In the next video, we will break down the model of the subconscious, and we need those principles still operated in order to get those results.